Hi everybody, my name is John Marsden and this is my studio, Little Big Sound. I know a lot of you guys know me as a band dad, but my main work job is writing music for television, theme park rides, cruise ship shows, digital media, anybody that might need music as part of their operation. I got started doing this with a degree in composition from Bates College in Lewiston, Maine, and a few years later I went and got my degree in recording engineering from Full Sail. And almost straight out of Full Sail, I was hired to help write the music for a small kids TV show called Barney and Friends. And I did 14 seasons of that before starting to transition out of television and into theme park rides and cruise ship shows and that sort of thing. So what I thought we would do today is take a look at a theme park ride that I wrote the music for a couple of years ago. And this is actually the very beginning of the ride, when you're sitting in the ride car waiting for the theme park ride to actually start. So this is the music that would go in that little segment, and it kind of sets up the show for what's going to happen. In fact, let's start with the video that my client sent to me with what's called temporary music in it, so I could get a feel for what it was that they were looking for from me. So that is what the client sent to me, and you notice it has both music and sound effects in it. One of the things you probably noticed is that the music that they're using is not original. It is coming from movies, and you may even know the movies that this particular music came from. And obviously we can't use that because it's somebody else's music. The concept from the client's perspective is to show me intent, what they want in terms of what they're looking for feeling-wise. So the very first thing we need to do is define the various parts of the ride. I need to actually split this ride up into sections that I'm going to attack individually. Even though it's one piece of music, there are definitely sections to this. Like in any piece of music, there are sections. So what I first have to do is define what those sections are. So if we take a look at this without any sound. All right, so we have the introduction here. This needs to set the mood. We need to set, the level of tension that we're going to start with, define where we are. And then on the right side of the screen, you'll notice the little dinosaurs coming in. This is where we want to start the groove, the action of the music, so to speak. We want to score the action on the screen. And you'll notice, in just a second here, the big T-Rex comes in. This is where we're trying to set up the reason for the ride. He's going to basically scare us into leaving. And so we want to make that a very minor sounding, very discordant and heavy. And then finally at the very end, where this starts spinning, that's your actual ride car turning and getting ready to exit the launch tube. We want to have a little bit of a sound there that sounds like things are taking off. So this is kind of where we're going to start. We're going to take this empty piece here with no sound at all and start layering in sounds and music and turning this into a real piece of music. So now that we have defined the various parts of the ride, let's start building each section of the ride. I'm going to be using lots of orchestral library sounds to build this. So we start with the rhythm, or at least I start with the rhythm. I want to define each section with its own rhythmic foundation. This rhythmic foundation is what I'm going to play to with the strings, the horns, and the orchestral effects. The rhythm drives the action, and in a theme park ride, bigger is always better. So let's audition some of the sounds that I used in this. So for instance, on this New World percussion kit here, I'm really using just two notes. So what we have here is basically the ability to do So those are the kind of action grooves that we can get going. Let's see what's also on this. Are my big ensemble effects that have big reverbs, and so they're using sounds like this. Very big sounds. And when I start layering these together, I'm going to get some really cool big effects. Now I want to layer the big percussion with tom hits and those sort of things. So, for instance, we have these kind of. So we could do these really cool fills. Again, I'm just playing these on a keyboard. Now, the next thing I've noticed is I really need to have some kind of a fill to begin this thing. So, and I also want to have a cymbal swell later on. And then finally, in this rhythm section, I want to add some cymbal hits themselves. So we have things like. Or if you want to make a big statement. So let's take a listen to just the rhythm section here. So that's the rhythm section part. Now we need to add the harmonic content, things like the strings, the horns, the orchestral effects, that sort of thing. In this opening mood setting section, we need lots of foreboding sounds. Something's about to happen, i.e. the ride, so the music needs to reflect that. So I want to start with some brass ensemble effects, and these are kind of just discordant sounds. They're meant to be uncomfortable. Just kind of uncomfortable, kind of sounds. Things like that. And then I also want to try to make things be a little more epic. So at the very bottom, underneath all of this, I'm going to have something like this. And I can control how that swells in and swells out. So that's kind of our discordant stuff. Now let's set up the groove section. I need very animated sounds to push this along underneath the drums and percussion. So what I want to do is, this is actually a sound that we've used in our marching show, but I want to actually use some really what I call action sounds. So sounds like that, they're very big, but I also need to add some sounds that actually fill out those. So you'll notice on this sound, there's no sustain. They're just staccato, marcato sounds. If we want to add other sounds, and I also want to add some discordant sounds to this as well. It's just, again, this is kind of an accent sound. Anyway, it gives you a feel for that. So another series of sounds that I'm going to use are what are called tutti chords. So and again, I can control the swell and fall of these sounds to up and down. The last section we want to address is the T-Rex entrance. This is a very big moment. We want lots of tension, and there's an abrupt change in the rhythm coming out of the 6/8 groove. It goes into more of a 4/4 straight ahead. Kind of thing. So we have all these different orchestral sounds. So let's watch how we actually use them as part of the sequence. These are just the strings and the horns now. So there you have it. Those are the orchestral sounds. Now, if we actually add the percussion into this, this is what it sounds like. Now, the next thing we want to add is a little more bass. There's never enough bass, especially if you're in a ride that has subwoofers buried all over the place. So you want to be able to provide your sound designer who's on site with the kind of sounds that he can actually envelop the listener in. So at a lot of these places, I'm going to add I'm going to literally just double up the bottom end. Finally, we need some kind of action riser to represent the spinning of the ride car as it exits the launch tube to start the actual ride. I'm looking for something that lasts at least 8 beats, so something like this. So notice the ending is not abrupt. It just kind of goes blah, 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 blah. And that's okay because the ride car has already left the launch tube. So that's not going to even be heard. But I want to have that kind of riser lead to the end. So let's listen to the whole thing now with everything running. These are all the various pieces. So the rhythm, the harmonic content, and this last little riser that we have. And that's it. Music and sound design for a 30-second launch tube ride. Before we go, let's take a look at the final product that I delivered to my client. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this little masterclass. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I hope this gives you a better feel for what happens when you go to a theme park.